The conference on May 15th is Open Government on the Internet. Basically, we're going to have influential speakers from all over the country speaking, at the LBJ Library in Austin, but also at our ITC Center in DC. During the morning session, we're going to have speakers from government. So Susan Combs, who's a Texas Comptroller, will be speaking. Vivek Kundra, who's one of our main headliners, will be speaking. He's the CIO of the White House. So very influential in this new age of collaborative transparency on the internet. Bill Bradley will be opening for us.
It started initially with a statement and publication by Senator Bill Bradley, where he outlined a very broad vision for an interactive government that used essentially new tools to communicate and engage the public, and to ensure that the government accurately communicates to the public what are the basic finances and spending and authorities that the government uses on behalf of the people.
We wanted to bring it to a smaller, workable scale and just kind of figure out how we can make the president's budget open and accessible to the community.
The invention of all these Web 2.0 tools, things like wikis, and the invention of all these business processes like all these real-time business processes, people look at that and then they look at the government and they say, why aren't you doing these things?
Going into the afternoon, we're going to transition more into the sort of the physical aspects of implementing some of these ideas that are being talked about by the government officials. So we'll have Eric Gunderson from Development Seed, who was Development Seed was the winner of a competition that the DC government actually implemented, where they threw a whole lot of data on the internet and said, here it is, guys, use it, see what you can build for us. And so they built a whole lot of different types of mashups, which basically, getting different types of data to make this information usable for citizens.
We're advocating in favor of an enhancement of existing methodologies of sharing this technology and sharing this information.
It became apparent that just sort of a good next step would be to approach the Texas legislature and see what could be done locally. The idea of transparency is not just something that applies to the federal government.
We've also got Connor Kenny, who's from Congresspedia. In addition, we've got the creator of BillHop, which is actually a website which tracks legislation at the Texas Congress and House. And then later that will transition into Salona Boldward, who is an influential programmer in the Austin area, who will actually be hosting a codeathon. And so basically what this means is we have a whole lot of techies who want to get their hands on and actually get in there and start freeing up data for people to use. And when I say freeing up, there's a lot of data that is trapped online that is, when I say trapped, I mean it's very hard to use in a data sense. So it's like scraping PDF files and getting the data usable so people can then use it to mash up and create information that is usable and friendly for citizens.
By bringing in more ideas, we can figure out another way to solve the problem.
There are several reasons why transparency is important right now. The financial crisis maybe being, the topmost at this moment, because the federal government's spending so much money that the idea of tracking, what the government is doing, how it's spending our money.
If now I can actually show you through a mashup or a combining of that information how much was spent in your zip code for any number of different particular programs, whether that's Health and Human Services, whether that's Department of Transportation or Department of Agriculture, you pick your source of data that you want to analyze in that format, and you can now understand what is happening in your community. One of the disconnects we have amongst our citizenry is understanding how the federal government actually plays a daily role in their lives.
The new Obama administration has really ushered in this era of transparency. The reason why this is so important is because it creates a level of accountability, and it also sort of creates dialogue and civic participation, which are all things that are important for making the government work.
During my time at the LBJ school, I learned a lot about the president, Lyndon B. Johnson, and he signed into the law the Freedom of Information Act, and at that time the telephone was the latest technology, and he used that to the fullest by recording all his conversations and keeping everything documented. But after he left presidency, it stopped. And since then, technology has taken off, and the government is still stagnant in the way that they communicate with the public. And there are other resources out there that the government can utilize to have a better interaction with the citizenry. Instead of just posting information, they can actually converse with what citizens may want.
There was a team of us within the project that started working with Senator Watson's staff. Senator Kirk Watson is the Texas senator that represents the Austin area, and we started working with him to introduce a bill into the Texas Senate and to work with Representative Mark Strama's staff to introduce a bill in the House to start a project, a study that next year students at the LBJ school would conduct in partnership with all the various state agencies involved to create a transparent, basically the transparent fiscal process.
In the classroom, you can be quite isolated from exactly what is going on the ground. This PRP project that we've been able to work on is we're working with real people, and we'll work on a real issue, and in real time. That is extremely important to people. It was a major theme of the presidential elections was this accountability and transparency. And getting to come into the classroom and be able to focus on this, get up to speed, know what this is about, and then take those skills outside the classroom. In particular, some of us went to DC to present the work and the recommendations we had for making data accessible for people to use. And we got to speak with people at OMB, we got to speak with people at think tanks, we got to speak with advocates. And having been in the classroom, we were able to sort of, I guess, accumulate some sort of credibility with the knowledge there, and then actually apply that knowledge in the real world setting.
It was kind of a crash as to ideas of how to approach the issues, but in that crash, we learned how to come up with cost and benefits of everybody's idea, and mashing them together, we were able to come up with the idea of the conference.
What this partnership has done between the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library and the Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs is what we've been able to do is we've tied together essentially a message from former Senator Bill Bradley inspiring a policy research project that Professor Chapman has managed and monitored and supported. And now we've actually been able to re-engage the public on a state level and a national level. And we've also been able to provide new avenues for research and explaining the necessity to have an interactive federal budget.
We had students, dress up in suit and tie and go and talk to people at the OMB in Washington, D.C. We had, I've got a classmate who's been talking on the phone with, the CIO of the federal government, and I've been and some other people with me in the state group have been dealing regularly with important people in state government and dealing with them on a professional level. We're not just there as students. We're there to assist them professionally with the type of work that we hope to be doing when we leave. And so the opportunity to do this PRP is just tremendous for me.